The tab was still open when I walked into the office. He was always sloppy with his browsing history, sloppy with his secrets. I had come in to grab the car keys. We were out of coffee and he was still in bed. The laptop was open. Not just unlocked, actively open. A single tab blinking in the background. Chrome, white, search bar still highlighted. Cyanide half-life. It didn't make sense at first. He wasn't a chemistry guy. He hated documentaries. He barely knew how to spell pharmaceutical. Then I saw the PDF behind the browser, tucked into a minimized window, a form from Western Assurance Group. Policy type: life insurance insured. Madeline Cole. Owner: Jason Cole. Amount: $750,000. Date: 2 weeks ago. My name. His signature. I didn't touch the mouse. I just stared at the screen, then slowly backed out of the room like it was wired with trip lasers. Jason was still snoring. I could hear him through the thin drywall. I walked to the kitchen and sat at the table, heart locked in my throat, eyes unfocused. I tried to remember the last time I felt normal. It was hard to pin down. There had been odd moments, a cup of tea that tasted bitter, leftovers that made me nauseous, a headache that didn't respond to pills. Once, I woke up on the couch at 3 a.m. with no memory of falling asleep. He told me it was stress, work, hormones. He always said it with a calm voice, almost gentle. "You've been a little forgetful lately," he said last week, tucking a blanket around my shoulders, like he was worried, like he cared. I used to believe that tone. Now it felt like poison, too. I didn't panic. I didn't confront him. I just sat there, still, my palms flat on the cold surface of the table. I didn't cry. I didn't speak. I didn't even move until I heard the bathroom door creak open. He walked out in sweatpants and stretched, yawning. "Hey, babe. You didn't go to the store yet?" I smiled faintly. "Not yet." He kissed the top of my head. His hand brushed my neck and I resisted the urge to recoil. "Hey," he said. "You feeling okay today?" I nodded. "Just tired." He chuckled. "You always say that." Then he sat down at the counter and pulled out his phone, completely unaware that I'd just seen the search that would unwind everything. I poured him a cup of coffee. 2 sugars, 1 cream, just like he liked it. He didn't notice I wasn't drinking mine. I walked upstairs while he scrolled Instagram. I closed the office door. I opened my laptop, not his, and I began typing, not a reaction, a record, not a scream, a file. Because I wasn't going to run, I was going to build a timeline. That's when I knew this wouldn't be a confrontation. It would be a case, and I would let him hand me every piece of it. "You've been a little forgetful lately." That's what he said the night I passed out after dinner. I'd taken 2 bites of the chicken he'd made, overcooked as usual, and then I felt it. Not nausea, not dizziness, more like distance. The room tilted just slightly, like a poorly calibrated camera shot. My fork clattered against the plate. He caught it mid-air, smiling. "Long week, huh?" I nodded. Couldn't speak. My tongue felt strange, heavy. He led me to the couch and wrapped a blanket around me. "Just rest," he whispered, brushing hair from my forehead. "You've been so tired lately. You're probably just pushing too hard." At the time, I believed it. Or I wanted to. But now, sitting alone at my laptop with his search history still fresh in my head, it all reassembled. The random drowsiness, the headaches, the days I forgot appointments I never forgot. He'd made it easy to doubt myself. Little nudges, gentle corrections, a misplaced file, a missed text, a dish I don't remember cooking. Didn't we talk about that already? I swear we had that conversation. You must have just dreamed that. It wasn't gaslighting with fire. It was gaslighting in fleece, warm, software, but smothering just the same. I started keeping a private doc on my phone. It wasn't labeled anything obvious, just meal notes. I logged everything: what I ate, when I ate it, how I felt after. I didn't ask questions. I didn't confront him. I let him keep his routine. I let him think the manipulation was working. That Sunday, he offered to make lunch. "That Thai place gave you food poisoning," he reminded me, grinning. "Let's keep it safe today." He handed me a bowl of soup, carrot ginger, my favorite. I excused myself to the bathroom and flushed half of it down the toilet. The rest went into a Tupperware marked FROZEN. I'd made friends with someone in the chemistry department at the university where I worked, just in case. That night, he tucked me in and said, "You sleep so deep now. It's good. You needed that." I stared at the ceiling while he slipped into bed beside me. His breathing evened out within minutes. Mine never did. I started noticing how he'd hover while I cooked, watching closely, asking weird questions. "You already added salt, right? How long do you think it takes to, really absorb flavor?" Not questions, measurements. One night he asked me if I'd ever thought about writing a will. You know, just grown-up stuff. I did mine already, super easy. Then he laughed, like he'd made a joke. I laughed too. I was learning that mirroring him was more effective than disagreeing. After all, I needed time. Time to map the edges of the hole he was digging under our life. It was a strange kind of grief. Grieving the version of him I had invented. Grieving the version of me that trusted anyone enough to eat with both hands. I've always believed in paper trails. Digital ones mostly. Google Docs, encrypted drives, cloud backups with fake folder names. So when I realized Jason might be trying to kill me, I didn't cry. I started compiling evidence like I was prepping for a defense case, except I wasn't the one on trial. Yet. The document had no title. It lived on a private drive, linked to a dummy Gmail account registered under a fake pet name and an old-school zip code. Every entry was time-stamped, each symptom cross-referenced with what I'd eaten. Dates, screenshots, search history from our shared Wi-Fi. I even pulled DNS logs from the router. That little blinking box under the TV became a quiet spy. Jason had always underestimated me. He thought HR coordinator meant conference calls and catered lunches. He didn't know I minored in cybersecurity and had a habit of reading user agreements for fun. The more I logged, the more the pattern emerged. Unmarked pills in the cabinet, weird changes in flavor, nights where I felt drugged, followed by mornings where he acted especially attentive. A near-fainting spell in the shower, a bruise on my hip I couldn't explain. I started photographing the contents of our fridge before each meal. I recorded videos, silent ones, of the kitchen before I cooked. I logged his moods, too. He got jumpy when I made my own food, too quiet when I skipped dinner. Once I caught him staring at me while I slept. I pretended not to notice. My notes turned into a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet turned into a report. I added summaries, charts, time ranges. By week 3, I had something that looked less like a journal and more like a case file. He still kissed me on the cheek every morning. He still asked how I slept. He still offered to make dinner 4 nights a week. I stopped eating leftovers. I brought snacks to work and claimed I was doing intermittent fasting. I drank only bottled water and used a portable kettle I kept in my office drawer. I didn't stop him. I let him keep going. The more confident he got, the more mistakes he made. One night he left his phone unlocked while he showered. He always said privacy was overrated in marriage. I agreed, quietly. His search history was predictable. Signs of digital poisoning. How long does it take for memory loss to show? Symptoms of low-dose cyanide. I took screenshots. I didn't forward them. I printed them, time-stamped, and added them to a physical folder labeled Taxes 2019. Jason never opened old folders. He always claimed to hate clutter. That was the funny part. He tried to kill me slowly, methodically, but I was faster, quieter, better trained, and I wasn't going to warn him. He wouldn't see it coming until someone else opened the door. He made salmon, pan-seared, skin-on, with a miso glaze he said he found online. Jason wasn't a cook. He followed recipes like contracts, precise, inflexible, but this meal was different. He plated it like a chef, even wiped the edge of the dish before serving it to me. "I wanted to surprise you," he said, setting the plate in front of me with an exaggerated bow. "You've been so good lately. You deserve something nice." Good, like a dog. I smiled, thanked him, and sat. He poured 2 glasses of white wine from the fridge, already open. I didn't touch mine. He sat down across from me and rested his chin in his palm, watching. "You gonna try it?" I picked up the fork and cut a piece from the corner, smaller than a nickel. I brought it to my lips and paused. He tilted his head, grinning. "You don't trust me?" I laughed. "It's just hot." I touched it to my tongue, enough to taste the glaze, then pressed it into my napkin under the table as I lowered the fork. He didn't blink. I excused myself for a bathroom break, slipping the napkin into my sleeve. I flushed the toilet to make it sound convincing. When I came back, he'd finished his glass and was topping off mine. "You're barely drinking," he said. "Trying to sleep better. You said the same thing last week." "I'm still trying." He shrugged and lifted his own fork, took a bite of his salmon, and chewed with theatrical approval. "I really outdid myself this time." "Definitely," I said. I moved my food around the plate. Tiny bites, a bit of asparagus, a spoonful of rice. He watched me through it all, not aggressive, not paranoid, just measuring. That was what unnerved me the most, his calm. After dinner, he offered to clean. "You look tired." I let him. I walked into the bedroom and closed the door. Under the bed there was a cooler. Inside, a double-layered container with labeled samples. Everything I hadn't eaten. Everything I'd flushed or scraped or swapped since the first incident. I added the napkin, sealed the lid, and updated the log on my phone. At 10:38 p.m., I received a text from a number saved as Mira, short for Miranda Blackwell, the detective who'd finally responded to my emailed file 2 days earlier. "We reviewed your documentation. Can you speak in the morning? Do not alert him. Keep your routine." I replied with a single word, "Yes." Jason came in just after 11, brushing his teeth and humming a low tune. He kissed my shoulder and crawled into bed beside me. I counted his breaths. They were even. Calm. I stared at the ceiling and rehearsed what I'd say when the knock came. No panic. No crying. Just 3 words, spoken plainly. "That's him." "Yes." Then I'd pour my coffee and wait for the quiet to be broken. I called them at 6:57 a.m. from the small guest bathroom, door locked, water running to muffle the sound. Detective Blackwell picked up on the first ring. "Madeline?" "Yes, it's me." "Is he awake?" "Not yet." "Good," she said. "We're ready. We have the warrant. We'll be at your house no later than 8:15. I said nothing. She continued, brisk and calm. "The evidence is solid. The forensic team has what we need from the screenshots, the food samples, and the search logs. He doesn't know you contacted us, correct?" "He doesn't even know I noticed," I replied. There was a pause. Then, "You'll need to act normal. Don't block his exit. Don't touch anything. Don't engage. We're coming through the front door. You don't have to open it." "I won't," I said. Another pause. "Are you safe this morning?" she asked. Yes, I said, and meant it. By 7:03, I was back in the kitchen. Jason was just coming down the stairs, stretching, rubbing his jaw. "Mornin', babe," he said, voice scratchy with sleep. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," I answered, reaching into the cabinet for coffee grounds. "Figured I'd make us something." He sniffed. "Smells good already." I made it like I always did. French press, 2 mugs. I poured his first, then mine. He liked cream and sugar. I liked it black. We sat at the counter. Jason opened his phone and scrolled. I watched the minute hand climb. 7:11, 7:19, 7:26. "You doing anything today?" he asked between sips. "Just errands," I said. "Probably laundry." He nodded. "Hey, when's your insurance meeting again? You said something about health stuff last week." I smiled. "Already took care of it." "Yeah? You didn't tell me." I didn't think it mattered. He squinted, then shrugged and looked back at his screen. I stirred my coffee. Not because it needed stirring, but because it gave my hand something to do. I could feel the tension humming beneath my skin, not fear, just the edge of action waiting to be taken. Jason looked up again. "You okay?" I smiled. "You ask that a lot lately." He chuckled. "You've been different." I tilted my head. "Different how?" He shook his head. "I don't know, just less reactive. It's kind of nice, honestly. Less reactive." That's what he noticed. Not the unflushed toilet. Not the Tupperware missing from the freezer. Not the fact that I hadn't eaten a full meal he prepared in over a month. He thought I was softening. At 8:12, I heard a car door close. He didn't. At 8:13, there was a knock at the door. 3 firm knocks. Jason frowned. "You expecting someone?" I stood. "Nope." He walked to the window beside the door and peered through the blinds. Then his voice, confused. "Why are the cops here?" Before I could answer, they knocked again. Louder. He turned to me. "Did you call?" The third knock cut through him. "Jason Cole," a voice boomed through the door. "We have a warrant. Open the door." He froze. I didn't. I sat back down at the counter, picked up my mug, took a sip. Calm. Even. He opened the door halfway. 2 officers stepped in, one in gloves, one carrying a sealed evidence bag. The detective followed behind, badge up. "Mr. Cole, we have reason to believe you've committed attempted murder through sustained poisoning. Step away from the door and place your hands on the wall." He turned to me, mouth open. "What is this?" I didn't speak. He looked back at the detective. "I don't know what this is. This is insane. Ask my wife." "I'm not answering that," I said. Jason was handcuffed with clean, methodical efficiency. Detective Blackwell looked at me as she pulled out a document. "Thank you for your cooperation, Mrs. Cole. We'll keep you updated." He kept trying to talk, sputtering, confused, still playing the role of the good man in a misunderstanding. I just sipped my coffee. He still didn't believe it, even as they read him his rights. Even as they pulled on gloves and opened the laptop, the one he never let me touch. Detective Blackwell didn't flinch when she flipped it open. She didn't need a password. They'd already cloned the hard drive remotely using data I'd pulled from our router weeks ago. Jason was still protesting. "This is a mistake," he kept saying. "This is insane. Madeline, tell them." I looked at him and didn't say a word. Not out of spite, but because silence doesn't require justification. The 2 uniformed officers guided him into a chair. Detective Blackwell opened a folder and placed 4 photos on the table. Evidence logs. Screenshot 1, his search for poisoning symptoms that mimic flu. Screenshot 2, the life insurance PDF with my name, his e-signature, and the policy payout date. Screenshot 3. An invoice from a chemical distributor, flagged and confirmed. Screenshot 4. A partial message to someone labeled accountant, WAG. If this goes through, I'll be set. She'll never know what happened. He went pale. He turned to me. You went through my stuff? I raised an eyebrow. Didn't need to. You left it all open. Blackwell flipped the laptop toward him. On screen, the search bar he never closed. Same search I found 2 weeks ago. Cyanide half-life. He tried to speak again. I didn't mean... Don't, I said. Quiet. Final. Like a line drawn in sand. They opened the drawer by the fridge. Pulled out the loose pills I'd moved there the night before. He didn't notice they weren't in the usual place. He never thought I'd be the one setting traps. One officer read out loud, "Unmarked capsules, suspected compound matched with foodborne toxin, confirmed match with blood samples obtained from previous ER visit, time-stamped 5 weeks ago." Jason's jaw moved, but no sound came out. Then something strange happened. He slumped back in the chair, didn't shout, didn't resist, just stared ahead, lips parted, as if some final part of him realized it was over. I watched. Not because I wanted revenge porn, not because I needed to see him broken, but because I wanted to witness the moment someone realized he had no more power. He looked up at me one last time. You were never supposed to know. I didn't blink. You made it easy. Blackwell tapped the laptop. We'll take it from here. The officers pulled him to his feet, cuffed, read his rights again. This time, his voice didn't interrupt. He passed by me on the way out. I didn't look away, I didn't say goodbye. I didn't wish him well. I just watched the door close behind him. Then I poured myself another cup. The knock had come at 8:13 a.m. By 8:41 the kitchen was quiet again. The silence after was different. Not the tense kind, the kind that waits for footsteps or slamming doors. This was the kind of silence that settles, heavy, complete, the kind that arrives after a conclusion. The house felt smaller once they left. Or maybe just honest. I rinsed out the mugs, washed them twice, put his back on the shelf. Mine went into the trash. I never wanted to taste coffee from that ceramic again. I sat at the table where he used to watch me eat. I opened my laptop, the one I never let him touch, and deleted the folder. Not out of fear, out of closure. Everything had already been handed over. Forensics, detectives, court prep. I didn't need to keep holding the knife by the blade. I checked my pulse. Steady. I hadn't cried. I hadn't shouted. I hadn't screamed in the middle of the night or thrown his clothes on the lawn. People think revenge needs to be loud, but quiet revenge echoes longer. It lingers in the spaces he used to occupy, in the fact that he'll never know which dinner I saved, which glass I tested, which moment sealed his arrest. It wasn't the insurance policy. It wasn't the search history. It was the arrogance, the assumption that I wouldn't notice, that I wouldn't prepare, that I wouldn't win. At 10:12 a.m., I got a call from Detective Blackwell. "We've confirmed the chemical traces," she said. "It was real," I replied. "I know. He's already asking for a lawyer." "Let him. There'll be press." "I'm not available for comment." She paused. "You're composed." I was composed when I realized he was trying to kill me. The rest is just process. After I hung up, I opened a fresh document. Blank page. At the top, I typed, "Day 1, not of freedom." That word implies I had none before. No, this was day 1 of owning what I'd already survived. Because survival wasn't the ending, it was the staging ground. I didn't just walk away. I walked away after putting the knife in his drawer. I watched him use it on himself. I didn't need to scream. I let the paperwork do it for me. I let the lock click of handcuffs speak in place of final words. He always told me I was forgetful. Funny, because I remembered everything.